Okay, now we're up. Now, how did the like Super Scope? I know basically how the Nintendo Zapper works, but how did the
The
Super
Super
Scope?
Scope had a sensor.
Okay,
Because without the sensor, you couldn't use the Super Scope. It had one that sat on the top of the TV, below the TV, or whatever, and then you would calibrate it. So it's like it didn't do like the fucking
flash the screen.
the flashing of the screen. Now the Lethal Enforcers, if memory serves, it did because that is literally the Lethal Enforcer gun is literally just a plug. There's no sensor to it. It's just you
Okay,
plug it into the Super Nintendo, and so I'm guessing it did the same flash. I haven't played it in a while. Uh, Maybe it was the more of a. It might have been a faster flicker because in Duck Hunt it was real obvious when it would flash or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah. You could see. You
Um,
could also see the I
the
guess you would
the
call the
the hit
shot.
box,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
the hit box or whatever, where it would actually hit or what like what it was looking for. Um, and it's like I'm guessing with like I guess when lethal enforcers they use the same thing. The same thing with this military training aid. I guess it was like the same idea of like you know let's put this damn sensor on this fucking M16 and point it at the teeny tiny screen. And, good to go.
Yeah. Um, I've never even used a Super Scope before.
I played around with one when I was a kid at like one of my cousin's houses. And I think the next time I played around with one was when I bought one complete in the box just to mess around with it to see if it worked. And it
Mm-hmm.
was like my biggest thing with it. I didn't like the idea that it was a bazooka. Like you actually, the triggers are at the top,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
on your
yeah.
shoulder. It wasn't like a fucking gun. And I'm like, this is kind of fucking annoying. I mean, and at that point, like, I mean, a lot of people love Duck Hunt, and I love Duck Hunt to death, but like, there ain't a whole lot of good shooting games on Nintendo to begin with. Um, Trick
Yeah.
Shot wasn't bad. Fuck it, Dev. What's the one? God, I had it for a minute. The one that was the knockoff game, the bootleg. It was an unlicensed game.
Thriller?
Um,
Is that what you're talking? Chiller?
Thriller. Yeah, I had
Chill.
Thriller or Chiller,
Yeah.
whatever it was.
Yeah.
I had that for a minute back in the day. The hit detection on it was god awful. Gumshoe wasn't bad. Uh, Wild Gunman was pretty good, but some of them it was just it was flaky as shit. But Duck Hunt was always like that set the bar.
Yeah.
But like even on Super Nintendo, I remember like Lethal Enforcers being it. I mean, the game was shit basically on Super Nintendo, which wasn't much better on arcade really. It was more of a gimmick thing, even on arcade. It's like you play through that first level and you're like, I got the gist. Um, but Super Scope was like it had the fucking sensor, and I mean it went. It's just like all the other ones. What was Sega's the Menacer or whatever it was? They had the same
Mm-hmm.
idea.
Mm-hmm. I
Just
think having it separate kind of killed that because I bought my Nintendo. Well, I didn't buy it. I asked Santa for it for Duck Hunt. I didn't give a shit about Mario at the time. But once you played a little bit of Mario, you realized that Mario was the big game,
yeah,
and
yeah.
Duck Hunt was the little side show.
Yep.
Um,
Because Duck Hunt was a blast. I remember when I first got my Nintendo, I played the fuck out of Duck Hunt. I mean, I played Mario and I would get stuck in like level 1, 2, but I constantly went back to Duck Hunt like every fucking day.
yeah. Um, but I think once you played it and you realize, well, Duck Hunt was the only damn game ever used as that before it, so you really didn't have any real interest in then for that Super Scope. You had a little bit of fear of missing out, but you just didn't really care. Uh, God, I don't know what year that came out, but I think it was a little late too. You should have got that
Yeah,
thing
I
out.
don't think it was launch, and
It,
like I
no, it
said,
definitely wasn't launch.
no, and it felt fucking weird. Like I said, the buttons were on the shoulder, and it was like one of those like this is not Duck Hunt, and fucking sensors are never. I mean, Duck Hunt was like the fucking damn bar. They set the bar, and then it was like, you know, and there was some Kickstarter a while back that was working on a project of a light gun that would work on modern TVs, but it was like, I mean, at this point, it doesn't matter. You
Yeah,
know what I'm
I
saying?
can't see who would really give a shit, honestly.
Yeah. I
uh,
mean, as long as you got to go, if you really want to play old Nintendo anyway, it's like you're going to either damn have you know, a souped up low millisecond delay TV with a up converter and what all that, or you're just going to have an old CRT,
yeah,
you know. And I just keep an old CRT over for shit like that. You know, I just assume it's kind of like playing Atari. It's like every once in a while you'll be like, I want to play Atari for 5 seconds to remember how bad it was, and it's like then you'll play it and you'll be like, you want to play it on an old shitbox TV, you know, just
Yeah, yeah.
because it feels better. Damn, even damn Nintendo 64 looks better on an old fucking shitty TV.
Well, speaking of Super Nintendo, man, you ever play this game called Street Fighter 2?
I remember playing one of those back in the day. It's like I think I threw a controller a few times because of it. Memory serves.
Yeah. When I first played it, I rented it because I knew that Final Fight and Street Fighter were related. And so I was thinking it was going to be like Final Fight, except with like more characters. And so I'm playing this shit, and I didn't know that the actual heart attacks are on your bumpers on the Super Nintendo, the default with. And so I'm
Yeah,
just like using mediums and stuff, and I'm like, how does Blanca do the electricity? I can do the electricity, and then I didn't get it. I was expecting Final Fight, and I rented it and then put it back. Um, kind of like the word of the mouth started spreading around, and then so my friend Jesse got it for I think Christmas or something. I had rented it. I rented it when it came out. Wasn't impressed. I think Jesse might have got it for Christmas, and then so then we played against each other, and that's when I understand. Oh, this is what this fucking game's about. This is about killing the other your friend, and then you found the roundhouse button. You found the roundhouse kick as Ken and Ryu and Gao, and then it was
yeah.
like,
Then you realize what that's used for.
yeah, it's your fucking roundhouse kicks. You jump at the guy, you start the round jumping off. You jump up, and whoever got the first kick in was pretty much gonna win that shit. Um, and then you would trip them, and then when they got back up, you trip her ass again. I could loop their ass for the trip because we didn't
It's
know.
like until they learned what the fucking block
Yeah,
was.
yeah. Didn't know what the block was, or we knew of the block, but the plan was don't fucking block. We need to roundhouse kick the fuck out of each other, especially when you're like 12 years old. You're not
Oh
gonna
yeah,
think,
because you don't fucking think about defense. You're
yeah,
just thinking about well, especially and this goes with Mortal Kombat. You would block. It did not mean you wouldn't take damage. You just wouldn't take as much damage.
yeah,
And you're like, well, fuck it. If I'm still taking damage, I'm just gonna try to kick your ass real fast.
yeah. Um, and so you would see those special moves, and then later on you learned them. Or I'm trying to do the fucking special moves, and I just put player 2 as a controller because there's no training mode on that, and then I
Yeah,
have versus mode, and I'm trying to do the special moves, and I can't. They're just too hard, and then like on Nintendo Power, because this shit Street Fighter 2 was huge for magazines. It was on a cover of every fucking Game Pro, Nintendo Power, all that shit. And then the moves would be listed differently. And I'm pretty sure that on Nintendo Power, it for Gao it says down and back the charge, which does work, but the actual motion is holding back for 2 seconds and then pressing forward and attack for the Sonic Boom. And I'm trying to do that fucking Sonic Boom. I can't get it off. I can't get a fireball off. Much less, I ain't getting that fucking Dragon Punch to save my
yeah.
life. I ain't getting that shit. But I could do the Zangief Lariat. I could do that. I could do the E Honda slaps and the Blanca electricities and of course the lightning legs. So it's like didn't want to use Chung too much because actually Chung's roundhouses, her jumping roundhouse wasn't all that great. It was a double kick in the air, and then her ducking roundhouse was pretty good, but she wasn't compared to like Super Nintendo fucking Gao or Ryu and Ken. Them fuckers was lighting up with those
Yeah.
roundhouse kicks, and played all those characters, played the shit out of them. And then every weekend I would meet up with Jesse and we'd work on it because I didn't have the game. He had World Warrior, and we would play it. His brother was probably the best. His brother was a year older than us, and then just playing the shit out of it with your friends. And then you'd hear somebody's like, "Hey man, you play Street Fighter? You play that?" It's like, "Yeah, I play it." And then you get him. And sometimes they would know how to do a move on one side of the screen. You remember that shit?
Oh yeah, it's like shit. I gotta get to the other side of the screen because I can't fucking do this move
let
no more.
let me get on this other side of the screen. I can throw a fireball from that one, and I'm like, no, I'm not letting you over there because I don't know how to throw the shit at all. So I'm gonna try to be on that side of the screen to keep you from getting there.
And it was so weird, man, because I remember being the same thing as like I'd be playing the PC and I would literally or the computer and it'd be like I gotta get to the fucking left, back to the left side of the screen because it's like if I was in the player two position. And it was also the same way if you're playing with a friend, you didn't want to be player fucking two because you'd be like, God damn it, I can't do shit over here.
Yeah, yeah. Or your main chain is to try to get over there, and sometimes the person might walk backwards to take that space away from you, which actually is a bad idea according to actually how you're supposed to play it. But that's not the way
we didn't fucking know.
And the difference in Ken and Ryu was literally the fucking Ken would spin a couple times as he throwed you with the roundhouse. Remember that?
Yep. He would just roll over.
Yep. And then the sound effects were pretty much the same for a lot of the characters. They would like one would have a higher and lower pitch on the Super Nintendo. A lot of this shit I've not done since the Super Nintendo, so I can't really tell you because once you get to either the arcade emulator or whatever, you fucking never came back to.
Yeah, you never go back to fucking the Super Nintendo.
Yeah. But
like it was great on Super Nintendo, but once you fucking you discovered MAME or PlayStation 1 started having the collections, you really never went back.
Yeah, I cannot remember the emulator. It was a CPS1 emulator. I cannot remember.
Was it Final Burn?
This is before Final Burn.
There was like I remember it being like it only ran like CPS games, and I'm like, that's fucking stupid. And then you'd be like, oh no, this is awesome because it did such a good job of it.
Yeah, it did so good. And so I've seen Street Fighter 2 in the arcade a couple of times before, just as World Warrior, and so I didn't have any, so I didn't know the differences. I didn't know that everybody had a walking back animation. I didn't know that Ryu's and Ken's medium punch is actually a different fucking it's like a forward kind of punch. I mean, when they're ducking, it's like a different fucking punch. I just thought it was the light punch on the Super Nintendo. It looks the same, and actually in Street Fighter 3, it's still the same. They both look the same. There's like lots of missing moves and shit, and I'm almost positive I'd have to sit there and play them both back to back. But I'm sure because of those different moves and missing frames of animations, that the balance is different too. I know for a fact that Gao's kick is missing frames of animation, like his jumping kick. That says jumping roundhouse, so I'm pretty sure it's better. It's okay in the arcade. But it was mainly used as like sort of like a keep away because it's a little slower than Ken's and Ryu's. But I think on the Super Nintendo one, it's the exact same fucking speed and it's like a longer range. So it's like, well, Gao's got his moves are a little bit more awkward, but they're longer range. Is the way we associate it because it couldn't fucking do no flash kick, couldn't do no damn freaking Sonic Boom save my life. One of my friends who got the game for Christmas learned how to do it by pressing backwards, and then one time Jesse's like, he's about to throw a Sonic Boom because he's walking backwards. I've got no idea how to do this shit.
You know what the fuck he's doing.
And then he did it, and I was fucking impressed, man.
It's like, holy shit, that's how you do it.
You hold backwards for 2 seconds and forward punch, and then you realize that you could do it, and because I still didn't have it. But when Championship Edition came out, I don't think none of us had Championship Edition. We had World Warrior.
Because Championship Edition, was it even on Super? It was on Sega Genesis.
Yes, but they called it Turbo.
That's right. I was about to say,
it is the Turbo. It is the Turbo version, but it's Champion is my favorite one of all of them. I didn't know it at the time because it wasn't on the Super Nintendo. It was on Turbo. And even the Sega Genesis one that said Championship Edition, I think that was the Turbo, if I'm not mistaken. Now I
seem to remember it. I didn't fully understand Championship Edition until I played the PlayStation 1 Collection 1.
Yeah.
No, Collection 2. I mean, it was on Collection 2, and I was like, oh, this doesn't feel like the Sega Genesis one. It feels totally. It felt different.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? It did feel like Turbo when you compared them.
I didn't like turbo mode on the emulators. I mean the turbo. I didn't like the turbo just speed or whatever. So I ended up playing more Championship Edition, and
Yeah,
some of the difference between going by the arcade of two versus Championship. There's a ton of balance changes. Like in World Tour, Gal and fucking Dalzim are broken as fuck. Like you would think it's probably Ken and Ryu, man, they're the best, right? No, their fucking Dragon Punch don't even knock down. So you could walk forward, hit somebody with a full hard Dragon Punch, and then be in the air, and then they would recover from being hit by that shit before you hit the ground and fuck you up.
yeah,
And then of course there was in the original like 1.0, Gal has all these like handcuff glitches and shit. They're not hard to do if you know what you're doing. And you can try it on emulator. I think it's this. I think it's just throwing a sonic boom with a little bit of delay to it. Like you delay holding forward to like the maximum amount of frames you can do before you press the button. And I think it's a handcuff. They'll just get locked in like a hitman animation. He'll do a sonic boom when nothing happens, and they'll get locked, and then it's some cheesy shit. but another thing, so in Championship Edition, your fireballs knocked down. Ryu's fireball, your Dragon Punch is knocked down. Ryu's fireball actually is faster than Ken's. It has different animations. I think I don't know if the amount of recovery. Ryu has definitely better recovery on his fireball. I don't know if in the original World Warrior if they all had about the same. Like if you're like little versus your hard or whatever. But they had different recovery. Like your hard one has a slower recovery than like medium and shit like that. And then I want to say that I can't remember if it's as early as Championship Edition that Ryu's Hurricane knocks down. I think it is.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Because that was when I really started noticing that, Ken's was like, oh, you're going to get fucked up if you use Ken's.
Yeah, because if it would sometimes be good and sometimes be shit. It was unreliable. Now, in you can't use it in the air until turbo, but that's when you could use it to move around. I'm pretty sure anyway.
Yeah.
But Gal's flash kick at the hard version would not knock down. It was a 2-hit. You would think that's a buff. It's actually a nerf.
Yeah, because you just knock you back a little bit.
Yeah, it wouldn't knock down unless you hit both hits, so you had to be deep with it. Because a lot of it was like that flash kick had pretty good damn range after its invincibility starting frame. Though actually, when a kick up thing it has a pretty good range to it. Ken's actual Dragon Punch, his hard Dragon Punch, goes far as fuck. It's really good, and it's invincible through fireballs and shit until you turn around. And so there would be times like in fucking Championship Edition, you're just throwing fucking Dragon Punches left and right after you've spent years and years learning to practice how to do that shit. And it's like this. It's one of those things where you see what it is, but something just doesn't. You know what you're supposed to do, but you just cannot fucking get that motion down.
It's like a muscle memory thing, man.
Yeah. And the buttons weren't that reliable on World Tour for those things anyway. I don't know if they had negative edge on like Super Nintendo. Negative edge is you know what that is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, negative edge is essentially just when you press the button and when you depress it, they're actually both count as presses as far as the special move is concerned. So when you trying to do a fireball and you press it and release it, it's actually 2 shots of trying to pull the damn thing off. And so having the negative edge is important. Virtua Fighter does not have negative edge, so doing like a Hadouken motion or whatever, if you try to do it like Street Fighter, you're probably not going to hit it. You have to do it very precise. But stuff like the negative edge, I think the general controls of Super Nintendo had a lot of a slowdown in it, and then honestly, the arcade did too, if I remember. But you had to go. You had to work with slow down. You had all that kind of crap. I just sat there. When I finally got the game, I got Super. Is what I ended up getting. The Super Nintendo version of Super Street Fighter is freaking great.
Oh, it was awesome.
Yeah.
That was the best one on Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
Especially if you throw in the Alpha 2 version. Fucking terrible. We'll get to that in a minute, though.
Yeah. But a lot of the missing animations and moves were added back in. You still didn't have like a walk backwards. And I want to say maybe the characters were slightly smaller to make up for that, but it felt great. Fucking Cammy was just awesome, and I liked everybody except for DJ at the time. Now I would say I would like DJ more than the others. But it was great to have another big character like T-Hawk, who had range of like Sagat, but still could throw like the spinning.
Ganger, yeah.
Zanger,
whatever his name is.
Yeah. But I think the spinning pile driver was the last of the regular moves that took me a long time. I don't think I learned to do that shit on the ground until damn Alpha 3. Because Alpha 3 showed the motion correctly. It is not actually a 360. You could just do, if you start from fucking back and then go down half circle forward and then go up, that's actually it. So it's like a 270.
Yeah, it counts as it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's like with the shurikens, or the dragon punch. It's like I found that I did better if I would do the forward and then the down and then the angle and then go back to forward like almost at it, like going back up to like say 2 o'clock on the directional pad. That's the way I was always figured out how to do it worth the crap.
Yeah.
Almost like I was going too far, and instead of stopping it, because when I was a kid, I would just stop it. I was like, oh, well, it's just forward and then a quarter turn, and I would almost never be able to pull that freaking thing off.
Yeah, I hardly ever I used to on King of Fighters I do, but I hardly ever focus on when I'm doing the Dragon Punch trying to end at the down. The end motion's supposed to be like the down toward or whatever.
Yeah.
I hardly ever do that. I actually go back to like a full fireball, so it's more like pressing forward and then doing a fireball.
Yeah, that's pretty much how mine used to be, and it's like that was the easiest way I could ever pull it off.
Yeah, and then which actually is bad because as the controls got more, I wouldn't say responsive. They're more acceptable. They're really looking for that motion. In like the newer games, I'll mean to throw a fireball and I'll fucking do an uppercut like all the damn time, because it's more lenient.
Yeah.
But it's you sit there and you work and you practice these fucking things, so that you could throw do a combo. And it wasn't until I got the game myself and I worked my ass off every fucking character, try to learn every fucking character, playing tons and tons against the computer on the hardest difficulty. And eventually it's like when I eventually got to the point where I could actually beat that, I was like, fuck yeah, because I worked so hard because you could not do it. And you tried so hard and you could not do it. You've seen other people pulling it off, and you're like, how the fuck are they doing this?
Cheating.
Yeah. It's like they must have a programmed turbo controller. Hell, fuck it, I had turbo controllers too. So you get the damn E-Honda fucking turbo slaps on turbo. It may be on super, but definitely on turbo. You could help forward and move forward. You could control that shit. With the E-Honda. So you just start fucking throwing the damn, put your turbo controller on, start throwing your slaps, and just press forward, just start going. It reminds me of The Simpsons when fucking Bart Simpson and Lisa are like, they're pissed off.
Fighting.
Yeah, they're pissed off. I'm going to start swinging my arms. If you run into it, that's your problem.
That's your own fault.
We put a pretty good bunch of times at E-Honda because he had that 100-hand slap, man. He got lots of playtime. Sooner or later, pull his ass out.
That was kind of like with freaking Blanca. It's like anybody could do the freaking electric zap, and you'd be like, I can fucking charge up this, and all I gotta do is wait on them to hit me.
Yeah.
And then you learn eventually, oh no, they can still sweep kick my ass, and it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
It's like fucking broken.
It was still useful if you had your distance right.
Yeah.
The the fucking how I learned the damn wake up throw, which is that just wake up and throw somebody. It was it was Dalzine. You would jump in on computer Dalzine, kick his ass in the head, but you would do it too high because you think he's Dalzine and he's bitch, and he would throw your ass.
He'd throw your ass
every fucking time. And eventually you realize it's like, all of those assholes dropping what was called meaties, which they would try to damn do the double axe kick is up close was fucking Ryu and Ken. If they do that shit when you're down, you could always fucking throw their ass if they're in throw range. And Dallas even taught me that shit. And then of course we already knew all the time that you could pick direction, so you could throw their ass on the wrong side of the screen. It would
fuck them over.
It's like you thought you had the advantage. And so that was the first defense move you learned, man. Block. What the fuck's that? I'm gonna throw your ass to the corner. The wrong corner. You fucked now.
Which one was the one in arcade that had the directions to how to do the fireball and stuff on the frame of the arcade machine?
I want to say it would have been as early as Championship Edition and Turbo or Super.
Because I remember like playing that in the arcade and looking at that and being like, fucking just like trying to figure that shit out and being like, I can't fucking do this.
Yeah.
Like I would spend the whole fucking round trying to get a fireball off, and if I got a fireball off, I felt I did good.
Yeah.
Like it didn't even matter if I fucking won. It was just like I fucking pulled off that fireball, man. Look at that shit. I meant to.
Yeah, I remember one time my mom actually let me play at a Walmart, and then because there was at fucking Walmarts, and it was Championship, so I got to be in Bison because couldn't be in Bison in fucking World Tour, and so or World Warrior, and so you'd be in Bison and you feel so good, and the guy showed me how to do the charge psycho rusher. I mean, he did whoop my ass, but I at least got to do it, and I was so excited to do it, and it was one of those things where you got to play it one time.
Yep.
Fuck, better cherish that shit. You got your 30 seconds in.
It's like when you would play against the computer. It's like the first round you would be like, oh, I can do this shit, and then the second round you just get the shit beat out of you because arcades.
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat was bad about that. It's like the first round, it's like it was all them. The second character was like they beat the fuck out of you. But I remember like back in the day, one of the first times I played it, I thought Dalcine would be invincible because he had the freaking punch that went all the way across the screen and the kick that went all the way across the screen. I was like, shit, dude, you can't fucking beat me. I'm hitting you from all the way across the screen. And it's like the first time you play against the computer, it's just like, oh, that they'll fucking cancel that shit out real fast.
Yeah. Because you can hit the limbs, and so
yep.
That's always.
I just remember being like the first time I ever played, being like, this fucking ain't going the way I thought it was going to go. I thought I'd just stand here and just kick people from across the screen. It's like, oh, hell no.
Well, one of the things is that for poking, the medium buttons for Dalzine were actually better than dropping. I mean, the fucking giant roundhouse kick is cool as fuck, but it's just...
It fucking would get your ass whooped.
Yeah, it had no priority. And to this day, I'm sure there's somebody who knows the magic of the fucking priority, whatever it is. But, we learned that some moves just seemed to just go through. And it wasn't even necessarily hitbox. Some moves just went through. And we had an idea what hitboxes were.
Yeah.
Some moves just fucking just go through anything. And probably the strongest fucking move, even though to this day, I'm pretty sure the damn strongest fucking priority move is that jumping Chung-Li medium kick when you're going forward or backward. It's just, there's just something about it. It stays out forever. And then it just stops every fucking thing.
It just kind of floats and just bounces right on you.
And so you realize that, while you wanted to use the roundhouse kick for every fucking move, you started to have to learn, there's a point to use these medium moves. It's like, so Chung-Li's roundhouse jumping kick ain't as good as her medium. And of course, the damn stomp. Almost without a doubt, when I started picking Zangief, fucking Jesse would pick Chung-Li and just stomp on my ass all day long. Just fucking bounce off the wall, stomp on my ass, play bullshit keep away. Every fucking time, man.
That's like I thought the electric shit would just be like I just stand there and I'm good, and it's like no, you just fucking somehow come up and sweep kick you. That's like fucking Guile, man. It's like I could never figure out how to play worth the crap at Guile. I think until I played against you,
Yeah.
and that was when I was like, oh shit, you can offensively play as Guile, and he kind of became like my second character because like the average person would never be able to figure out how to. They thought that Guile was like the turtle character.
Yeah.
He'd be turtling the shit out of everything. But if you go up against somebody that just thinks they know how to play and you start offensively playing as Guile, it's like they don't know how to fucking respond. It just blows their freaking mind.
Yeah.
I learned that shit from you.
It's there's something that feels really fucking good about playing a charge character, and not just one that just has. Generally, the charge moves are better to make up for being charged, um, but those charge characters, the problem is like you have to almost constantly be thinking about a charge, and the other person will know that, and so
Yeah.
you have to start learning out how to hide your charge that you've charged
Yep.
up and you don't know. They know as if you're Gal and you're ducking that you're charged up a flash kick. They know that shit, and
Yep.
so and even if Gal is like dropping little medium kicks or roundhouse kicks on you, and they're going to try to instead of trying to counter sweep it, they're going to try to jump afterwards. You're going to get flash kicked. It's so you learn real fast that you're looking like this Balrog is hiding in the corner, and so he's got the fucking uppercut.
He's got the punch coming.
Yeah, he's got the uppercut coming out or the charge coming, and so as you're playing and the shit out of it, you realize that you can charge. Like when you're knocked down, you can charge, and so
You can charge all the time.
yeah you can
When you're jumping in the air towards somebody,
Yeah.
you can charge.
yeah, and if you jump and immediately start charging, you will have to hit them in the air and then on the ground with something, but then you can cancel out the that move, that second hit into your sonic boom or your flash kick, and then you can charge right from the fucking round starts, like
Yeah.
in this interrupt, and so as you learn and you play that and you kind of adapt to that style, you're like you start fucking learning Gal. It just feels so good. It feels real good, and so he's so fun to play. I honestly think that Charlie, like the Alpha Charlie, is a little bit better, but I love Gal. He's so fucking great, and then they'll often one of the reasons why I play Chung Li is that a lot of times they'll make Chung Li a charge. It depends on the damn game, and then,
Yeah, it throws you off with Chun Li.
Yep, and then so I could sit there and I could play the charge style that I like to play with Chung Li, who's more geared toward offensive anyway. And there's not too many characters that really pull that off because your charge moves need to have enough recovery on them that you can kind of go from one thing to another. You can have a kind of like a diverse move set instead of relying so much on like the big fucking E Honda down, headbutt dash or whatever. But it feels really good to play. And actually, I don't know if you knew this, but the best way to charge is you can charge while you're throwing a sonic boom. You can already be charging. You do the motion for the sonic boom, but before you press punch, you press back again, and then you press punch. So you'll be already charging your next sonic boom as you throw another one. And if you're playing against an advanced player, if you're not doing that, you're going to fucking die because I remember playing. I don't know who this guy was. Some random guy on the internet playing HD Remix, and I was playing Gal, and I got murder stomped because he definitely knew how to do that, and I knew of it, and I didn't do it. So
it was like it's like just a lot of work to do that, man.
Yeah, it is a lot of work, and it's one of those things where Gal can kind of, sort of, if he's doing that, he can keep up to a point with like characters like Ryu and shit like that, to a point. And then I probably beat. He ain't gonna beat Sagat, but he could probably beat Ken in a fireball fight if you're doing stuff like that. I don't know. I don't remember my matchups from shit too much for stuff like that. But there's hidden little things and tricks like that if you're playing the fuck out, just like knowing how to throw on a wake up and stuff like that. Hell, they even talking about the terminology. You'll see all that shit. People will talk about this shit, and you're like, if you're not in it, you've played them 50,000 hours. You don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Oh yeah, it's like there's always that extra layer, and that's what made Street Fighter 2 so good. Is like all the fucking layers of it, you know.
Yeah, you're learning the character. As you learn them, you're playing differently. And as you run into somebody who knows how to play them, they're playing differently than you are, and you're like, "Wow, I didn't know that I could do that." And so when you see something different, you really zoom in on it and learn it. Then you're learning fucking the matchups of like, here's Zangief. I want to make his ass fucking eat 40,000 fireballs. It's like, because I don't want him getting close. I don't want him getting close at all. And if he does get close, I'm gonna jump and fucking hurricane kick away like an asshole.
I used to love use that hurricane kick as like a mode of transportation. It's like if you once you got where you could jump up and do it diagonally backwards to get away from somebody, it was like holy crap.
Now on Turbo, you could jump up. It was a countable move in air. You could jump up, kick, and then go into a fucking hurricane kick, and it was a straight across one. It was broken. And I think you could jump backwards and kick in the air and then do one fucking backwards. It's crazy fucking shit. It's one of those things. It's like, well, how's that group gonna get into this? You ain't getting into this. It's like it's fucking that's how it's gonna be. And there was so much like hidden techniques and shit. Like just the fucking like learning a combo, which we used to call them the 2-in-1s, because you would start one move and then you would cancel it as another move. They didn't have things like target combos or anything like that till I want to say Darkstalkers is when that shit started happening. So you would really just practice and practice because you wanted to be that Ken character that fucking dropped that uppercut on somebody and then canceled it into a damn shuriken for the big 4 hits or whatever it was, you know.
Yep.
And then you nailed that and you felt so good.
It's like, look what I did, motherfucker. Yep.
What's funny
is the whole rest of the match might go to shit, but you did that.
Yeah, you dropped a big shit, and then it wasn't just for showing off. You knew that was probably one of the highest damage things you could do, and so if you found somebody stunned and you could do that when you wanted, it was a big difference because you're pretty much going to end the round. Fairly recently, AT&T did of course, the AT&T are idiots, but they decided they were going to sponsor esports tournament, and they were going to make it more than just one game. So it was going to be 4 first-person shooters and Street Fighter 5. And to see some of the hottest damn first-person shooters esports people having to go and learn Street Fighter, and
because otherwise they're fucked.
Yeah, they're trying to learn it. They immediately noticed that they didn't have any fighting game experience, and so they were really good at freaking other stuff. I probably Apex Legends was one of the games. They were good at Apex and shit like that, or Rainbow Six Siege, but they didn't have any kind of background at all. They didn't sit there and do like us, where we're fucking 12 and 14 years old playing the shit out of this damn game back in the 90s. And so they're trying to play this shit, and they're saying that this is the hardest fucking thing they've ever and they're playing like ranked bronze or whatever, getting their shit kicked in.
Oh, it's because they're so far out of their element.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, this is you have to think about this totally different, It'd be like the same thing if you did the reverse, where it's like, all right, guys, you got to go be fucking damn awesome at Fortnite. You'd be like, oh, fuck. It's like, we're screwed.
Well, I mean, a lot of your first-person shooter or even third-person has, or battle
a
royale.
Similar layout.
Yeah.
You got the gist.
Yeah. There's transition. It's easy. But something like Virtua Fighter versus, say, even Mortal Kombat, even though that's 2D, the controls and the how that works is so fucking different than what Street Fighter is, that there's very little besides basic like philosophical, like, push the guy in the corner type things to try to work for it. As far as your actual inputs and stuff, they're completely different. You have to work on it. And it's one that they had a huge trouble with it, and I just thought that was funny as shit because I guess that Street Fighter and probably StarCraft would be just the esports that would have no fucking turnover. Even like your mobile shit, like League of Legends and shit, has no. It's not going to help you at Jack's squad on StarCraft.
Oh yeah.
But so played the fuck out of the Super Street Fighter 2. That was where I really played a lot of it, and I missed Turbo because I only really played it at home, and I want to say that I'm talking about Super Turbo. Super Turbo, I believe, was it on 3DO or some shit? I think it was.
I don't think it was on TurboGrafx. It might have been 3DO. It was on one of those systems that nobody fucking had, like 3DO or something like that.
I think it was on. I don't think it was on Neo Geo. I think it was on 3DO, and that was the only home port of Turbo for like a bagillion years. And on top of that, when the emulators finally came out, CPS1 emulators, Super Turbo is a CPS2 game. It was one of the first ones, and so you could not play Super Turbo. And so I didn't have Super Turbo experience literally till 360, which is fucking ridiculous. But that's how it was.
It was on Collection 1, wasn't it? I want to say that's how I ended up with it. Collection 1 was 2 discs, and it was like It was Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo and Street Fighter 2 Alpha 2 Gold, or Street Fighter Alpha 2 Gold, and that's how I ended up with it. And I ended up with that shitty PC version, if you remember that.
Yeah.
Which is fucking terrible.
I guess we'll talking about the PlayStation ones now.
But I was trying to remember because I think it did come out. It was like 3DO or something. It came out on something, but it was not like a common console that like, oh, everybody has that shit.
Yeah. So I was an N64 kid, and Street Fighter moved to PlayStation. And so Alpha came out on PlayStation, and boy, I was jelly of that shit because I had no way of playing it. I didn't have a PlayStation, and I'm sitting there in GamePro. I'm looking at Alpha 2, and then I think it was Alpha 2 Gold. I'm looking at this shit. I'm like, yo, I gotta fucking have this. I've gotta have this, man. I was playing a shit ton of Doom and all of the N64 games. I was having fun, but I was missing my Street Fighter.
Yeah, because there wasn't much of a fighting game on N64. I remember that one you had. It was like Mace or something like that. It was fucking terrible.
Ooh, boy,
it was bad.
Yeah, it was actually decent compared to the rest of the shit on N64. But pretty much it was out. Killer Instinct Gold was about it.
That was about it. Yeah, I forgot about Killer Instinct Gold, but that was probably Premiere. I just looked it up. Yeah, it was 3DO that had Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo on it.
Yeah, and I've still to this day never played that. And actually the first time I played Super Turbo was Dreamcast, but I didn't play very much. So my actual Super Turbo experience is HD remix. But so I had to have a PlayStation. I think I might have been with you when we went and rented a PlayStation, or am I wrong? I
think we did. I think because you rented one before you bought one. Yeah. And I think what was that? God, what was the name of that store in Douglasville?
Blockbuster's where I rented that. Where I rented it.
No, I was thinking about the gaming store. I forgot the name of the gaming store, though.
Yeah.
But I think I did
it
go
was Gamers First is what that was.
That's what it was. But yeah, I think you rented it from Blockbuster.
I rented it from Blockbuster, and I got Grand Theft Auto, the original, and freaking Street Fighter EX, because that was another damn game I was just salivating over because it looked so fucking cool. I loved the fuck out of EX. It was
different, but it was great.
It was so awesome. It was fast as fuck. You can cancel your supers and other supers. Grand Theft Auto 1 sucked by the
it was terrible. I remember you rented those two, and I don't think we ever touched the Grand Theft Auto. It was kind of like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
But the freaking soundtrack to EX was great. the characters, they're so damn goofy that they were fun to play with because they were so stupid. Like
Yeah,
Skullmania or whatever his name was. It was like, this guy's stupid, but he's fun to play.
yeah. Skullmania, Garuda, fucking was the guy with the spikes that could come out.
Yeah.
M Bison, EXM Bison was such a fucking badass. He had that the way he teleported around in circles like that. Of course, Akuma. That might have been the first time I got to play as Akuma, or was it Akuma even in that one?
He was in.
No, he was in it. I'm pretty sure he was in it.
He was in it. I'm
Yeah.
fairly certain he was in it because I remember. I mean, his first go round was what, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
Yeah, yeah. There was like a super secret code that was super precise on the arcade that allowed you to pick him, but most people hardly ever saw him because you had to be. The AI on Super Turbo to this day destroys my ass. Like the first fucking character, it's literally designed because they know that everybody who was still playing arcade was like a badass by then. You know what I mean? Through like 4 variations. So it is designed to try to get quarters from like super good players. And it is an absolute nightmare. I remember fucking the DJ being the first guy fucking goddamn traumatizing
shit out of me.
Traumatizing my ass. Because I'd played through it on the Dreamcast first. And there's something wrong with the AI on the Dreamcast version. It's an idiot. But with the actual arcade, the arcade AI is a brutal massacre shitlord. But yeah, I loved EX, and I wanted Alpha 2 Gold real bad. This is before Alpha 3 is even announced. I would have really lost my mind had I not had a PlayStation before that. But I'm like, I got to get a hold of this. I got to get this fucking thing. So I finally, I don't know how I got it. I saved up my money or something. And it finally got that shit, and so I could get those. Basically, well, they were actually not as good as the Saturn ones, but for me, it was like fucking amazing.
It was better than nothing, and it was better than the Super Nintendo Alpha 2.
Yeah, I didn't. It took me a whole long time to get gold too, and I'm pretty sure I bought that online somewhere.
You probably had to because that was rare. Street Fighter Collection 1 on PS1 was literally the first thing I ever bought on eBay. I think I would have been out of high school at that point, but it was like the first thing I bought on it because you couldn't find it in stores. Funko Land was like, we ain't never got that shit.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they just never had it. I remember getting Collection 2 on at Toys R Us. It was like a $20 game. And it had, I can't remember if it was 2 discs or not, but it had Championship Edition and something else was on it.
It had all of the 3 of the original ones, but it didn't have Super. And no, it didn't have the Hyper Fighting one that was later on. That was on PS2 like Anniversary Collection, but it had the World Warrior Champion and Turbo. And by this time, I had already played the fuck out of them on emulator a ton, but I still ended up playing the fuck out of it. I want to say because on them you had the music. I think it might have been from the 3DO. It had enhanced music. It didn't have the arcade tingy music that it was playing on the emulator, and then played the fuck out of that. But Alpha 2 Gold was boy.
Oh, it was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I loved it.
I want to say I can't remember if I played the Super Nintendo one first or not. It might have been the first time I played with Super Nintendo. It sucked.
Oh, it was terrible. Remember, it's like it would say fight, and it would sit there and have like a fucking 5-second pause between saying fight and like. It was one of those things of literally like. I think they did it just so they could say they did, but that doesn't mean it was a good idea. But I mean, it literally was Alpha 2. It was just fucking terrible, especially after you played it on like the damn PlayStation or anything, or the Saturn was supposed to be like what the arcade perfect version.
Yeah.
But no, it was god awful. And of course, joysticks on Super Nintendo, you're very limited to joysticks on that.
Well, at the time, I hadn't started joysticks yet. The reasons why I started learning joysticks and buying them was because I knew well, that's kind of getting ahead. But I started learning joysticks because I wanted to play Dreamcast, and I seen the Dreamcast had a shitty controller. I'm like,
oh, it's terrible.
Yeah, this isn't going to fucking happen. So that's when I learned joysticks. But Alpha 2 was fucking amazing, man. At the time, it's like I would just be Shin Akuma and just like fuck everything up. It's like, I didn't know that I was being a shit ass edgelord.
Yeah, an asshole. Where you're sitting there fucking throwing the double fireball and teleporting behind somebody so they can't fucking block it because they're turned around. You know, shit like that.
The fucking double homing fireballs, teleport around like a dick, and fucking just when they finally get close, you're gonna have the damn 3-hit damn dragon punch on their ass.
Yep. Fucking damn sweep kick them and to do the fucking death move. And so they can't get out of it because they're fucking. As soon as they get off the ground, it's fucking hit.
Yeah, well.
I remember you could get out of it if and it might have not been in Alpha 2, but in Alpha 3, if they're a regular Akuma and they did the sweep kick followed by the death move, like you could still, if you're fast enough, you could get out of it real fast. But if it was Shin Akuma, like fuck it, you wasn't getting away. Like there was nothing you could do. It was too fast when it came at you. So as soon as you popped up, block or nothing, you wasn't getting out of it. You're screwed. Cheesy as shit.
Yeah. And then it wasn't too long after I got my PlayStation that Alpha 3 came out. Holy shit! Now these days, like the super hardcore, super bros, they know that Alpha 3 is broken and shit. But for so many other people who just play with their friends, Alpha 3 is like that fucking gold standard, super amazing game.
That fucking roster was amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, like when they found like the finish, because was Guile not in it originally?
Guile,
I can't remember.
Guile is not in the arcade version.
That's
Charlie.
What it was.
So you're missing some of the OG characters like Vega and shit. They weren't in Alpha 1 and Alpha 2.
No, I knew that because Alpha 2 had like what was it, 9 people total?
More than that, but there was more new characters, and a lot of those other characters were set to the side.
Oh yeah, because it was like. I don't even know if Ken was in Alpha 2, was he? Surely he was.
Yeah.
It was like Ken, Ryu, and fucking Chun-Li were like literally it, I think.
Well, no, when Zangief come back, that was a big deal for Alpha 2 because he went in Alpha 1. Birdie was in Alpha 1. And so when he came back as that big super fat, it was a big deal. I want to say maybe that Sagat wasn't in Alpha 1. I can't remember. He's in Alpha 2, though.
Yeah, he's definitely in Alpha 2.
And then Dalzine popped up in Alpha 2. But Alpha 3 brought over everybody that was missing. So everybody came in. Plus, you had Cody. I don't know why the fuck he was in a prison outfit. He should have been using his old school shit. But you had Cody. You had Karen.
They're trolling his ass.
Oh, hell, we didn't even mention Sakura in fucking Alpha 2. Fucking Sakura was awesome as shit, man.
Oh, yeah.
I think that would have been probably the main damn character. Well, besides fucking getting a hold of Akuma as regular in the roster. But you brought all those characters over. Fucking Karen, our Mika. Yeah. Dude, there's some other people I didn't even think of. But they also brought in all of the new challengers. So like stuff like T-Hawk and DJ and shit were. They might not have been at the arcade, but they were on that PlayStation version. Fei Long, everybody got there. And the PlayStation version had their, I think it was called Red Book Audio. What the music was fucking amazing, and it was missing animations and shit, but not that much. It wasn't nothing compared to like as bad as like the Super Nintendo ones. And I think the characters were a little bit smaller, but that was about it. But it was loaded down with fucking modes. The World Tour mode. You had that tag team mode.
That boss mode against freaking Bison. That was cool.
It wasn't just Bison. It went through like several lists of characters.
It did. Didn't it? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. It was 2-on-1, and so and the other player could join in. Now on the PlayStation, you're forced to be. You could be Ken and Ryu, but other than that, you had to be like if you wanted to be 2 Chun-Lis, you had to be 2 Chun-Lis. You couldn't mix it up. but just beat the fuck out of the fucking the bad guys. It's just whoop their ass, and it's just fun as shit. What else was in there? Because you had World Tour. There was some other shit in there that it's eluding me right now.
It's been a minute. I can't remember. I just remember having like fucking 30 something characters in on that screen and just being like, holy shit, this is fucking awesome.
Yeah. All had backgrounds. All had fucking music for them. It was just great. The intro, the cheesy guys like, great job, Street Fighter. It's just top tier, super duper PlayStation game for me, and one of my favorite PlayStation games, like to this day. I think I ended up getting it, even though there's better versions of it, and kind of sort of, but they always have the shitty arcade music, the dinky arcade music.
Yeah, because I think like the one on PSP was like the one that had everything in it or something like that.
Yeah, it had new characters and new modes, but I've never really played the PSP, so I can't even remember her name, but there's a girl on there that's never been in anything else besides, I think, maybe Fighting Evolution.
Probably Ingrid or something like that.
You're right, it's Ingrid. But
I played it briefly because when I had a PSP, I think I still have one floating around. And then I learned, like, oh, you can just download all these fucking damn games, like the PSP. I don't even know if my PSP reads disc or not. I never even tried. I just put a fucking damn micro SD card in it, fucking flashed the fuck out of it. But I remember playing the shit out of it because it was like that, and then I realized it could play like all PlayStation 1 games, and I was like, oh, this is my Street Fighter handheld now.
Yeah, it was. See, I never played that. I played Street Fighter on Game Boy.
Oh yeah,
holy
God.
Shit. I think we talked about that during the Game Boy.
We probably
podcast.
did, where it's like, fuck it, damn. That's another one of those, like, just because you can doesn't mean you should. I mean, and didn't they put Alpha 1 on Game Boy, or was that Game Boy Advance?
I think it might have been like Game Boy Advance.
Because I had Alpha 3 on Game Boy, and I had the freaking, what was it, Revival that was on Game Boy Advance also.
Yeah.
But that was some of that. I mean, anytime you dumb down Street Fighter to 2 buttons, you're already, kind of fucking, you fucked it up. I mean, it doesn't matter how hard. It came out on Game Boy fucking Color. That's what it was on. So, like, it was, like, barely above fucking regular Game Boy at that point.
I mean, as far as down processing, isn't that pretty much the same?
It's pretty much the damn same. I mean, you're pretty much, I mean, I mean, it did a really good job of Super Mario Brothers Deluxe, but I mean, that was like pinnacle fucking Game Boy Color, probably.
Yeah.
As far as what it could do, yeah, I'm looking at these screens. Yeah, it fucking looks terrible.
Abomination. But they tried to put it out on many things they could.
Yeah, and I get it. That was back when it was like, depending on what version you bought, like, it might be a totally different fucking game.
Having Alpha 3 and 2 downgraded compared to like the arcade or Saturn didn't mean too much to me. The difference comes in that the real crunch is when you start talking about the Versus series where you have your tag shit doesn't actually work right. But I didn't bother. I loved Alpha 3 on PlayStation.
It's great.
Yeah. It had some damn decent load time. They all had pretty big load time. And
that was a PlayStation thing.
Yeah, and then you had Collection 1 and Collection 2 and EX. So it was loaded down. Even I think the PlayStation's only the Prime was only like 5 years or whatever. It might have been longer than that, where it just kept making shit when PS2 was out. But loaded down with great Street Fighter games. And of course, what I wanted was fucking, because you'd heard about it and hardly ever never seen it. I wanted to play Street Fighter 3, and then that's going to be on Dreamcast, and then it's like Marvel vs. Capcom is going to be on Dreamcast, and then like the fucking full on the best version of Alpha 3 is going to be on Dreamcast, and so learning all this shit, I'm like, well, I'm getting a fucking Dreamcast.
Yeah, clearly.
And then so. you look at that controller and you had the triggers. You had the fucking triggers instead of the two. You had the analog triggers that you pressed in. And
like
I'm
gas pedals.
yeah, yeah. And I'm like, there's no fucking way I'm gonna play on that. I'll learn the fucking joystick, and so that began the search for joysticks, and I made a lot of mistakes, man.
Hey, you had to try them all out, man.
Yeah, the shitty $20 sticks that look cool and it worked for about 10 minutes, and you break them some bitches. The official damn PlayStation controller also sucked. The official joystick, it was shit.
I used to have one of those box complete somewhere. I don't know if I still do or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, it fucking had the big circle and the rectangle. That was terrible.
Yeah, the gate. We didn't know it was called. It's called a gate. And then the buttons would stick, or you'd fuck the damn the fucking damn joystick itself sucked, or it would have just this terrible feel to it. You just over and over again. And there was some kind of third party one. I remember I bought 3 or 4 of.
The blue one?
Yeah.
I just remember it being blue, and I think you could only find them at like KB Toys, because I remember you dragging me to that dead ass mall.
Yeah.
To
Southwood.
And it was blue, you know.
Yeah. I was just glad to actually get one that was there.
But, yeah, because I just remember it being like, it was like a fucking baby blue or a blue color. It was something. I don't even remember what brand it was, but it was,
yeah,
fucking better than the official one.
But I remember it was going to come out. The Dreamcast was going to come out in the fall, and then so I spent a huge part of my summer trying to learn how to play that shit, and then it was awful going from being I was better than you with the cross pad, but then when I got that stick on, I was clearly worse.
Oh, I loved it when you were learning how to use joysticks. It meant like it was like payback. And I remember it didn't last long. It was like a fucking week. It was like, yeah, he's starting to whoop my ass again.
Yeah, I had to learn to play, knowing that I couldn't be able to do the moves that I wanted to do, and so I had to learn how to freaking just learn an entirely new style of play, basically.
Oh yeah, it was like starting over, because I remember when I finally started learning how to play it on Dreamcast with a joystick for the same reason, because that controller's. You remember you imported that one controller that was like it was similar to a fucking damn Saturn controller, but it sucked. The directional pad was terrible.
Yeah, yeah. I tore that thing up. I think I probably mainly got it for you, if I remember right.
You might have. I remember like trying my damnedest to play with it, but it reached the point where it's like, no, it's joystick or nothing. That's the only way you can play.
Yeah. But even then, the official Sega joystick sucked. We ended up modifying that. Remember that?
Yep. And it's like we would change something inside of it. We added like washers to it or something weird.
It had like a little washer in it to keep it from going too far or something like that, and then this washer was real cheap and small and would get fucked up and it would start sticking, and so just went down to my dad's basement and found something. I'm pretty sure that yours actual washer was better than my washer, if I remember right. A little jealous.
I don't remember.
But we would put these washers in there that would fix that stick, and it did not quite feel as good as the Sega one, the little washer is, but it would not stick, and so it wouldn't fucking fail on your ass. It felt a little bit more grindy, but that's what we had. And I would have several of them joysticks at the end, and then I think even when 360 started, I started buying. Well, we better have like 2 or 3. Better have 2 or 3 of these.
Better have a couple of them.
Yep, and I think for a long time I had 2 or 3 of those Dare Live sticks. I know I still got one, the Dare Live 4. I want to say those were Horis. Yeah, those were Horis. I ended up with a Hori somehow or another that I liked, and maybe that blue one we were talking about was a Hori. I don't
remember if it was a Hori or what, but it was like it looked fucking damn. It looked cheesy, but it was pretty damn good.
Yeah.
It was the best of the options back in the day. It was like, Compare, because I'm telling you that I remember that fucking wool was terrible, and they wouldn't have any weight to them, and they would slide all over the place. They were fucking just god awful.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but I can't remember what. I don't even know if it had a brand. It was probably like some off brand, some bullshit, you know.
Yeah, the NES Max sucks too, by the way.
Oh yeah, it was fucking terrible.
Um,
It looked cool, and it was like, but I couldn't fucking. I remember like getting one as a kid and being like, I couldn't fucking beat Guts on stage anymore on Mega Man, and being like, fuck this.
even with your turbo, you couldn't do it.
Yep. The fucking jumping gaps fucked me over. There was something else that was fucking we used to use, but I can't remember what it was. Oh, it was that damn touchpad sensor. You remember those that they had on Nintendo? They were fucking terrible too.
Yeah. Worked. I'm losing my spot now, but Dreamcast came out. Got it for Street Fighter, but holy fuck, Soul Calibur just devastated that shit.
Fucking damn day one. It looked better. That was the game that I was like, the fucking arcade was done. Because I remember Soul Calibur in the arcade looked like shit compared to Soul Calibur on Dreamcast.
Yep.
And it was like night and day. Because I think the the Soul Calibur on the arcade was still running on like PlayStation hardware or something like that. It was noticeably worse.
Yeah. From resolution to I think the mint mapping and shit. It might not have had nice little mint mapping stuff that that the Dreamcast did, kind of like the N64, except not a fucking Vaseline nightmare.
Yeah, rose-colored glasses.
Yeah. Well, I mean, today if you go back and play Soul Calibur, those textures don't look like real life, but they look like real life back then, man.
Dude, when you got that fucking VGA fucking adapter, you remember that shit back in the day?
Yeah.
That was like, holy fuck. That was just about as HD as it fucking got back then.
Yeah, because you had the 640 by 480 resolution on VGA. And what was funny is that some games really, I guess because they're still made primarily for the CRT, they still popped on the CRT, in my opinion, better. It depended on the game. Of course, Street Fighter and like SNK versus Capcom, they look like shit on that damn thing because they were clearly designed to. They were over pixelated. Today, people love the pixels. But back then, we considered that, we were going to I would take my CRT and take it out of the S video thing and put it in a regular AV mode for Street Fighter whenever it played it.
Yeah, man, it's fucking jaggies. You don't want to see the jaggies.
Yeah. But what was other damn? Marvel vs. Capcom was big because that was it was 4-player on Dreamcast and it was fairly early. Waited forever for Alpha 3 to finally hit it, and then it had 10 years.
Yeah, it took a long time.
Yeah, it took too dang long.
Because by the time it came out, it was kind of like nobody gave a crap anymore.
Yeah. At Tingy Arcade, you were now able to play like your dramatic battle, whatever it is, with any character you wanted to do. But it was still basically the same thing. I think they did some balancing stuff. They nerfed PlayStation DJ, because he was broke as fuck.
He was broke as shit, man.
He's fucking broke.
I did not realize. I was like, is fucking DJ always this goddamn good? And it was just like, there's no way. But fucking, it was like, just, you figured out he was broken as shit, and it became a fucking nightmare. But I was like, there's no way he was this fucking good all the time. And it was not. It was just that one.
Yeah, he had no recovery at all on the fucking Max Out, and so Max Out was pretty much free. It's just crank new shits out, man. It didn't matter that on Alpha 3 your fireballs sucked if you went too far. Just get close, start Max Out Murder Fest.
Yep, fucking damn uppercut over and over again. It's like, god damn. I just thought it was like Steven figured out how to play good with damn DJ, and then I was like, no, it's just this version of fucking DJ.
Yeah. What the irony is, DJ is good on Super Turbo. He's upper mid. It's one of those things when his moves seemed weirder than the other new challengers, especially Cammy. Cammy's really straightforward. But his moves are all goofy and shit. But he has a more balanced game, because Fei Long and T-Hawk did suck.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then everybody liked Cammy, but she really only had the cannon spike, not the yeah, the cannon spike, the upper, the dragon punch kick.
Yeah.
The cannon drill is actually pretty suicidal.
Yeah, because you get your ass kicked
Yeah.
in. And the thing is, I wanted to be good at Fei Long so bad. I don't know if you remember where I took like a moment where I was like, for a brief while, I was like, I want to be awesome with Fei Long. And it didn't matter what I fucking did. I just got my ass
Yeah.
kicked with him.
Even on like, I mean, I'm assuming it's Alpha 3, where he looked fucking awesome in Alpha 3, and he had that
Oh,
badass
yeah.
music. But he's supposed to be good in 4, but in your classic games, there's no real, the Rekkas don't put in a lot of pressure. You need to start open with like a medium or something like that, and then I don't know if he's got good medium openings. Honestly, if I'm trying to think, and I end up usually using a close hard punch or a jumping hard punch to try to get your Rekkas in, and then his flame kick was fucking stout, man. It was great, but he didn't have a good way to put pressure onto somebody, and that's really the key. And so it's like Ryu can control distance, and you know, up close, fucking Zangri's going to control up close. What's fucking Fei Long going to do? He's going to try to use his speed to try to poke your ass or whatever. And hell, Vega's better at that. So finally was able to get W Impact. Remember, I imported it. I still remember.
Yeah.
I remember to this day what I paid for it, $108, which was out fucking rageous at the time.
And that's back when you still had the rubber band trick for the Dreamcast too. Remember that?
Yeah, because it was before Game Shark. Game Shark allowed you to play any imports, but I had to. There was something, I don't remember exactly what it was. There was something where you faked Soul Calibur.
It was a disc swap, and it had a rubber band because you had to keep it. You had to swap it, hot swap it, without it knowing that you opened the lid, and that's what the rubber band was.
Yeah.
Because that was, what was the fucking boot disc? It was Utopia that came out, and it was like, this shit ain't gonna fucking work. And it fucking worked like perfect every single time. It was like, this is fucked up.
Yeah. But even before the piracy started, you had the Game Shark and that swap, and so I'm like, I'm gonna import this shit, and I was so worried that I wouldn't be able to read anything, and you can't. But everything in the menus that you need to see is in English.
Yeah.
And so what you effectively need to play is there. You couldn't read the fucking the end scenes or whatever it is, but you had everything else. I think you were there when I pulled up W Impact. You might have been with me.
I think so, because I remember being like, how the fuck you gonna read this shit? But it was so like intuitive, it really didn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Because like half the shit was in English, and the other half was like, you could figure it out. And the options menus and all that shit like that.
Yeah. So I paid $108 for this damn thing. And then we'd already heard, it was already now commonly known that there was something people didn't really like Street Fighter 3, but I was like, I still want that shit. And it's like, I'm not going to play the original. I'm going to play W Impact, which was supposed to be better anyway. It had a lot more people in it. But I remember cranking that thing up for the first time and then seeing like Ryu's and Ken's fucking like geese.
Baggy ass pants.
The baggy ass pants floating and shit. And then like, this is fucking amazing.
It was so different that I was like, this is fucking weird. But it was like they would sit there and like in rhythm with their fucking pants bouncing and shit. And it was like, okay. Like it took me a minute and I'm like, okay, I like this.
Yeah.
Like, it was so different.
Yeah. And didn't know it at the time till you got Third Strike later on. But W Impact is a turbo. It's a turbo mode by default.
Yeah.
So you're fucking throwing out down roundhouses and shit like they were down medium moves. They're fast as fuck. I loved Dudley. I thought Dudley was the baddest fucking ass character ever. I was amazed by Dudley. Kind of like Alex, I thought I liked his moves. I never was worth a damn with him, and maybe because Alex just sucks.
He was just. I knew if you picked Alex, I had a shot. I knew if I picked Dudley, I was getting my ass kicked.
Yeah. I don't think you picked your super yet, or did you?
I
can't remember.
Because honestly, it didn't feel like we played that one as long before Third Strike came out.
Yeah.
And then once Third Strike came out, it was like no looking back.
Yeah.
You know.
Um, I don't remember if you picked your super, but it was the first one that had the EX moves, which was a big fucking deal.
Yeah. I used the EX more than I did the supers.
Yeah.
I was just like, unless it was somebody that I really liked the super on, it was like, fuck it, I just EX everything out.
Yeah, because you had you had that stand in a place hurricane kick. It was fucking awesome. Although that might have been similar to no, I think that was actually in EX. There might have been a super, but you had the EX. I mean EX plus alpha. Now we're getting fucking EXs.
Now we're getting into the EX plus Alpo fucking damn. Yeah, we forgot to mention like on the fucking Street Fighter EX, it was like you remember it was like Street Fighter EX plus Alpha 2, and it was like it fucking keep going. It was like fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
You know? Damn shit. But yeah, I remember it had because for me the EXs made more sense than even bothering with the fucking supers. Even in Third Strike, especially like Remy in Third Strike, it was like fuck it, I'm just EX the fuck out of shit.
Yeah. The characters were fucking great. Loved the characters. The music was awful. The backgrounds weren't too great.
The music was so goddamn terrible, but at the same time, it actually kind of added charm to it. It was so bad.
It was because it's in Alpha 2 and 3 and even the original like Street Fighter 2, it's there to pump you up and get you ready to fight, and then you got this weird kind of like jazzy shit or whatever the fuck it was trying to do.
It was fucking terrible.
Yeah.
And it'd be fucking damn what's his name like hiding in the fucking hammock and shit in the snot bubble, and you'd be like, this is fucking weird.
Yeah.
Like it was so weird, but it was good.
Yeah, it was the well, if you had Necro, I don't know if 12 might have been Third Strike. It was the Creature Edition, and then I guess we'll go straight to Third Strike. I think it came out in the United States, and you picked up W Impact. That was about the same time when we were playing it, like, because we had moved on to something else, and we started playing it again. I was like, yo, I know the Third Strike's about to come out. I'm pretty bored of that motherfucker.
Yeah.
And then play that shit. Never gave a fuck about Chun-Li. But then I was enamored because Chun-Li was such a badass in that game.
Yep.
And Third Strike, it did the music. There was some annoying ass music stages like fucking Elena's with her beats in her head shit. And then there was some like Dudley's that was so experimental and weird that I was just like, fucking just, this is great. And then you had Ryu's, and then as you played between the rounds, the music would change. It was fucking hype as fuck. Love Third Strike. Still to this day, that game feels so great to play. And I'm not good compared to other people, but it was still fucking awesome.
It was a great game.
Yeah.
That might be like my favorite Street Fighter's Third Strike. It would be a toss up between that and Alpha 3, but Third Strike's that would probably be my go to.
Yeah. What's funny is the roster is not big. It's full of fucking idiot Oros and Necros and fucking 12s and goofy shit.
Fucking damn, just weird ass shit. But it's like, and I'm sure somebody with fucking the Hugo was like, oh man, he's greater than Zangief every day of the week. But I just, fucking damn, he would slapjack your ass down like a pancake, fucking crazy ass shit.
Fucking giant, huge ass Hugo. I like Hugo fair enough. Yeah, the fucking just trolly as shit with that giant roundhouse kick.
Yep.
This humongous roundhouse kick.
Or that diving kick he'd have, or some random shit.
His jumping splash was fucking humongous.
And then you would have like fucking damn urine on there, and it's like, I never knew if we were pronouncing his name right, but it was always this urine.
Just call him urine. I think it is supposed to be urine, but he was gonna make that damn what am I fucking? It's not spandex. Speedo. He's gonna make that the fucking thong Speedo. He's gonna make that shit work.
And then you get up to fucking Gil, and you just be like, oh, urine is just a damn. Like a cheesy, like he's like the lower version of Gil. It's like that's why he's here, right? Just so you have somebody to, you can't be Gil, you can be him.
Yep. And Akuma had sandals on, man. Okay, he was wearing feet. clothes and shit.
He was worked up, man. He was traveling the world, and getting nicer stuff.
Yep.
Wasn't near as fucking good as he should have been.
No, but
he was probably exactly where he should have been. Actually, he's like he wasn't cheesy yet.
Yeah. They always try to balance him by making him have no fucking hit points. Which I'm pretty sure he didn't.
Like, he can't take a beating for shit.
He had a pretty cool new super. I think it was like he jumped in the sky or some shit and came straight down. I can't remember exactly what the fuck it was. But you could pick your fucking super, but usually what ended up happening is there's simply one that was better than the other.
Yeah, there's always like very lopsided. Didn't some of them have 3 of them?
They would have 3 supers.
Some had 2.
No, they all had 3. But
okay.
What you're thinking about, you're thinking about the meter itself. You're thinking about the meter itself. So each one had its own variance of gauge. So you might have some that only had like Hugo's big fucking super duper grab only has like 1 meter if I ain't mistaken. But Ken's freaking like super hurricane kick would have 3. And it's one of the reasons why that's probably one of the best supers in the game. And then Chung's had 2 on her lightning leg one, but what made that so good wasn't the actual that one. It was her medium kick was a crouching medium kick was retarded. It was like super great. It had like a huge window on it, and if yours really good, you could use just the medium kick to verify your super. So which basically meant is like you made sure they weren't blocking before you did the motion. And to this day I'm not good at actually doing that, but there was just something about third strike, and then the parry and shit was more than a gimmick to me. It was basically to stop fireballs, but these days people are like parrying super badasses. Parrying
it was the way to show off too, man.
Yeah, show off or be an idiot. Whatever ones you want to do. If you could parry
parry that damn basketball every goddamn time. Fucking throw the basketballs like that. That's what you'd practice on.
Or the rows where Dudley would throw the rows.
Yep.
So I could get
whatever you could do is like a fucking damn troll move. It's like you just keep throwing the basketballs. They're gonna troll that shit.
Yeah, I think that was. Although no one played that shit. That was kind of the peak of the old school, in my opinion. After Third Strike, after Street Fighter 3, not Street Fighter, but Alpha 3, after Marvel's Capcom 2, Capcom just pretty much pulled out because they had way oversaturated the market.
At that point, it was all over the place.
And then you're looking at Tekken. It kind of taken over, and for a while, Virtua Fighter was doing really good. It
was.
On that list of top selling whatever it was games for back in the day, it's in that top.
It's in
list.
there,
yeah. And so they pulled out and didn't make anything for a long time, and then so for a lot of people, they would call this the Dark Age. The people who only played Street Fighter, this was like the Dark Age, when you had your PS2 era or whatever it is, where you didn't have much new stuff. You had EX3, which was a launch title for PS2, which I liked for what it was. It wasn't overall as good as EX1. It had you were forced to tag in, and there was a couple other things that were cool concepts. I got a 4-player and stuff like that, but it just didn't really kind of vibe, I guess. But this is time when I started playing Virtua Fighter and Dare Alive and Soul Calibur, stuff like that. So for me, I still played. I never thought that fighting games went away. For a lot of people who just played Street Fighter, they didn't have anything until 4 came out. So 4 came out, I think it was 2009.
I think so.
Yeah, it came out.
Sounds about right.
About the same time as Resident Evil 5 did. And so now Capcom, in their mind, they're always thinking about fucking 2009 when like Street Fighter 4 and Resident Evil 5 came out about the same time, and they did bonkers numbers, and they're always trying to repeat that. So here we go. Next year, 2023, they're going to try to do Resident Evil 4 remake and Street Fighter 6, pretty much
Yep.
back to back.
It's like, we can do it again, man.
Yep. Now, I wasn't too hyped, but I was pretty hyped. At the time, I was all Virtua Fighter 5. And so, looking at Street Fighter 4, compared to Virtua Fighter 5, Street Fighter 4 looks hideous compared to Virtua Fighter 5, which had already been out since, like, 2006. So, it's like 3 years older. And it looks way, way simpler. I didn't know at the time is that Capcom's lazy asses, they farmed out the whole thing to another dev team. Dips made it. And so I got it and I'm playing it. The music isn't too hot. The graphics ain't too hot. I'm not really vibing that. I hate hyper armor a lot. I've slowly come to adapt. It's like hyper armor is in every fucking game anyway. Get used to it. But the focus armor was very... that focus shit went through when I like to just poke and use buttons. It just went through all those fucking buttons and it just pissed me off. And Gal sucked. Gal was the lowest tier.
Gal was terrible.
Yep. Zangief was highest tier, and then Gal was lowest tier when he came out. There was a lot of characters in it. And they're pretty good new characters. I like Rufus. I don't know if you remember him.
Yeah, I remember.
That was that fat dude with like the belly, and he had he dressed like Bruce Lee. he was Bruce Lee. They're making fun of us fat Americans. I actually like Rufus a lot. I thought he was cool. But there's the online code, which was bad, especially after Super HD Remix had just came out like a couple months before with like just amazing code. So me and you played that. Remember? If you remember that.
Yep.
But Street Fighter 4 just had shit online code. Got my ass beat. Gal sucked. And I just wasn't vibing, man. It did not. The moves compared to Third Strike, because really I'm comparing this to Third Strike. It just did not measure up. The actual moves, the animations and shit, they were all like crap. They were real basic. They were back to like Street Fighter 2, and so honestly not even that good. And so I thought these characters didn't have much personality. But for a lot of people, that's the game they love. They love Street Fighter 4. Tons of people just play the shit out of it.
Oh yeah, it sold the shit out of that game.
Yeah. I don't know if it was simply just the it being the first big Street Fighter that was online. That's probably what it was. Or the fact it was coming back after a big, huge hiatus. But there's tons of people that they started, they're called 09ers. And so that's where they started, or Online Warriors or 09ers. They started playing in 09. And that's what they play. And they actually had trouble because they were so into Street Fighter 4, which has different mechanics than 5, that they couldn't translate to 5 very good at all. Because that would have been literally their first game. They ain't done like what we've done and played different ones.
Yeah, where they could just adapt to it.
Yeah. But from what I remember, not playing much, it was a big, what was called, at the time it's called Vortex. And basically what Vortex is just, it's called a 50-50 chance. It's what you're trying to put the player, the other opponent, into a situation where they're in such a disadvantage that they have to choose between, defensively, choose between one thing or another. And if they keep choosing wrong, you've got them basically stuck into a vortex. And Championship Edition, we would just call it a fucking death combo. When you first hit, if somebody jumps in and gets a kick on you and knows what they're doing on Championship Edition, you're dead. Or Super Turbo, you're practically dead. It's like 90% damage. Because you'll get knocked into a combo, you'll get stunned and get knocked again. That's a lot of what Street Fighter 4 is. There was a lot of these big combos, these vortexes, which made it more about learning the combos, and they were hard as fuck to do. A lot of them were what's called a just frame, so you have a one frame of execution of the fuck it up, so you had to be perfectly timed on it. Fuck trying to do that online, but
yeah.
But if you could do these fucking things, you could put people in these vortex things and put them in situations where they could not, if they didn't react, they're dead, and so it becomes. That becomes a lot of what Street Fighter 4 was. And they evolved it more later on when you had, I think it was called the Red Focus. So I think this might have been, I don't even know if this was when the Super variant. It might have been the last variant, Ultra. I can't remember.
I can't remember. They came out with so many of them.
I had Super, and I didn't play hardly any of it. But the Red Dash cancel allowed you to you could cancel out of your focus into other stuff and move forward. So it opened up a whole lot of crazy combo shit. I still to this day kind of see when I play people, I mean, even when I was playing King of Fighters, is that their fundamentals, they don't have fundamentals. What they have is like really good combo shit. And so if you allow them to get a hit on you, they fucking obliterate you. But they would have a rough time just dealing with basic shit like throwing a fireball or throwing them around. I would throw the fuck out of a lot of these people. They would never tech their throw. Or they would fall down to footsie bullshit.
Just throwing out little mini kicks over and over again.
It's like I could go backwards and play Street Fighter 2 and literally in Street Fighter 5 or King of Fighters, and then somehow and beat a lot of these people who knew a whole hell of a lot more than me, but they didn't have any fundamentals. And I think that was kind of one of the things that separates Street Fighter 4 from 5, is that they tried to get rid of this offense shit. They didn't do a very good job. It still became a lot about when Street Fighter 5 came out. I don't want to go too much into that because I think we've talked about that in other podcasts a lot. But
I think so.
It face planted. There was no, the online wasn't that good, and it was down to the point where if you don't have fucking rollback, fuck you. Especially compared because Killer Instinct 2013 had already been out. But it had terrible online. It didn't have fucking lobbies. You could only play randos. Fucking ranked.
That was terrible.
People talked about their no arcade mode. It's a esport game. It also fell on its face because launch day it didn't have fucking lobbies. No lobbies, no story, no arcade mode. The survival mode to get bison bucks felt like it was a quarter stealing motherfucker. It is a game you pay $60 for, and bison bucks and DLC out the ass. You felt like you couldn't really do hardly anything, and it had what they had for a story at the time was like you had like an intro to your character, and like you would have like 2 fights against the computer where like babies could win. And they literally had a baby mash buttons and beat fucking these AI characters 1 round. That's it. And you couldn't even get 2 rounds. You couldn't even versus the computer. You could turn on the computer AI and fight like him in practice. That was it. It was stupid and retarded and awful. I actually like the graphics, the characters. I felt that the package was there, but it was missing everything. There was no I don't know, no flavor to it. I don't know how to describe it, but it's missing all of the. It had a core. That was it. It only had a core.
Yeah, it was just a core. It never expanded past that.
They had spent all their time trying to balance the shit for esports, and they got it. I felt that there wasn't any super broken characters. Honestly, the when it first came out, it was Chun-Li, Charlie, Ken to a point. I know. Yeah, I think Ken to the point and Ryu were actually the best characters. They nerfed Ryu to oblivion. They nerfed his ass for like 5 years straight. Said they nerfed the fuck out of Chun-Li too, and Charlie. They nerfed the fuck out of. Well, I don't know if they call him Nash now or not. I can't remember if he's Charlie or Nash or Charlie Nash. But,
he's Charlie Nash. Nash Charlie.
But they fucked it up. There was the crush counter shit I liked. It was like Virtua Fighter, but for a lot of characters, is like if they had a good crush move, that's what they just lived off that shit. And I think one of the patches, Balrog had a pretty good crush off his regular attack to make up for lacking other things. Because it's a quick balance, quick way to balance is like, what if he's not too hot everywhere else? So if he has one good crush, and what happens? You got one move, people will spam that fucking one move. And so a lot of people bitch about crushes, but that's a counter hit. That's how it works. Only certain moves are counts as crush, and it has to be pretty much a counter hit. So one of those things I've always thought is like, if you're getting baited into counter hits, that's fucking on you. It doesn't need to be plus on fucking block, like some of those fuckers were. But I overall for mechanics, I liked it. But it was a point where they fucked up out of the gate, and they'd lost all of their old school people that it back in the day. Only the die-hard online players. And then a lot of the people who, like I mentioned, they had played Street Fighter 4. They had played the shit out of it. They were super badasses, and they could not make a transition to one that tried to be more a classical approach. It just kind of fell on its face, and it was forgotten, or it wasn't forgotten. It was just lamented, man. It was just, when it was talking.
It was there.
Yeah,
and that was it.
We're gonna bitch about this. This is what we're gonna fucking do. I got so pissed off over something, I forgot what it was. Because I had pre-ordered that sumbitch with like the full-on collector's Let's Go edition, man, with the damn Chung-Li bikini costume on Steam, pre-order bonus, the whole fucking works, and got pissed the fuck off. Because I thought for sure that this was going to, because my problems with Street Fighter 4 were mainly just animations and shit like that, and a little bit of gameplay. I'm like, they didn't fix that. I seen they fixed that. No, they fucked up everywhere else. But I raged Street Fighter 4. There was one time 5. I literally, you have to delete your game from your library, like permanently. You have to do something special with to Steam, and they have to send you an OK email. There's some kind of thing, official thing you're gonna follow through. I was so pissed off. I took that shit. I threw my strategy guide in the dumpster.
It's like
I thought about burning that motherfucker, but at the end, it's like, you're not even worth that. You're going to the dumpster.
Just throw it in the dumpster. Forget about it.
It was some fucking badass, super down, full color, like 200-page thing with all of this cool lore and shit in it. I'll throw that shit in the dumpster. pay $25 for it.
It's like, they got me.
Yeah. And so what I'm hoping to see is like a redemption arc from Street Fighter 6 for that, because for me it's like, really, Third Strike's the end, and I think the same's for you. It's like, really ain't been into this shit since Third Strike.
Yeah, it's like 4. I played 4, but I didn't get that into it. And in 5, I really wanted to get into it. In fact, I even bought a joystick for PlayStation 4.
Was that the reason you bought PlayStation 4? I think it was.
No, I had one kind of fall in my lap, but it was kind of part of it. It was one of those things of like, I really wanted it I was kind of looking at it because I still hadn't played Last of Us when 4 came out. And I was like, I really want to play that. And then Street Fighter 5's coming out. So between those two, and then I had one kind of fall in my lap, that was kind of the drive behind it.
Yeah.
And I mean, like I said, I went out and got the freaking joystick and everything. And then I played it. And I'm like, this is not even a complete game. Like, I mean, like, I couldn't play against you. And I'm like, well, this is fucking waste. So it was like, at that point, it was, and then stuff came out for it later, but it was like too late. It missed its mark, and it needed to be sooner. It's kind of like when Revelations 2 came out, and it was like, well, raid mode isn't online yet, and it's like by the time it got online, me and you had already fucking finished raid mode, which was half-assed anyway. Yeah. So it was like, what's the freaking point?
It's one of those things where it's like, for there's some people that Street Fighter is what they play. That's the main thing they play, and they might play one or two other games, but it's mainly about Street Fighter. And so they're forced to wait and play through it, and to try to justify that everything from the pennies and nickels and dimes for they realized that they didn't have a casual audience. They had lost their sales, but we can really go in on this esports crowd that just has to buy all our shit. And so everything from you'll be able to earn all your characters for free, but you won't be able to get these costumes or anything else. You have to make a choice.
It's a $10,000 game when you get down to it.
Yeah. and they had expensive fuck costumes in 4, but they upped their game in 5. And I'm probably in 6 too. But as long as they're straight up about it, you can look past a lot of that dumb shit if your freaking core experience is great and you don't feel ripped off. If you feel like you've been ripped off, and then they want season pass 5 or whatever the fuck it is, like fuck you. It's greedy Capcom. I remember when they put the ads on the characters. So we're gonna have Red Bull characters.
Oh
yeah. And they were putting these ads on fucking like one. My favorite one is like Dalzine wears those skulls. It isn't to be cool. It's like It's like the children have lost the plague is the actual official reason. And they had decals on these skulls of the plague victims.
The children. That money was going to a good cause.
There's some good shit. Man. I've noticed that on Street Fighter 6, when Ryu on the trailer, when Ryu's doing the fucking pose and the damn peach trees, his gloves aren't branded as what the UFC brand.
Yeah, the UFC brand was last time. You know what that means? That just means they're still open for fucking branding, so that's an opportunity for somebody. It's like a blank fucking, billboard. That's what it is.
Well, you know how Blanket became like that. He was drinking Mountain Dews, man.
Yep. That's why he's got that fucking monster tattoo on his back or something. It's like the next trailer's going to be Ryu's gloves. It's going to have like your ad here or something like that.
Facebook. It's fucking part. It's like, yeah, man, sub to Netflix.
Yep. It's already red, man. You have Netflix and you have fucking Monster Blanca. And then, the U.S. Army's already got fucking Guile, I'm sure that's, from back in the day. That's like Chad's going to be a fucking Hollister. He's going to have his Hollister jacket.
Guile can, have a Tom Cruise skin and, promote Top Gun. It's just,
yep. It'll say Maverick right across the back.
Yep.
Or they'll do cross promotion, man. It could be one of those jackets from fucking damn Shinbu to have a tiger on the back. It'll say like Shinbu 4 coming soon.
What I mean, they've done. I'm surprised they didn't do that, honestly, because they sure as fuck put Akuma in Tekken.
Yeah,
in Tekken 7. He is a core part of that fucking story. He is in there. He is core part of the damn Haji story, which I thought was a pretty good story mode. But I'm surprised. I mean, they did crossovers for their own games. They didn't do any other things, which is surprising to me. Now, Virtua Fighter's already doing that shit, and they're pissing off people because they need to finish up adding the shit to what was it, Ultimate Showdown, when it's still missing shit. So it isn't. So the final one's the best one. Then you have Ultimate. But we're going to throw in Tekken costumes because Tekken's a more popular game. So let's VF characters
cross
up.
Promote, baby.
So we get some Tekken people to play our shit. I'm surprised they ought to. It's usually done great. It did great for SNK. And of course, Smash being the best example.
Yeah, I'm about to say, it's like, at this point, if your character's not in Smash, what the fuck did you do wrong?
Yeah, because, of course, Ryu is in there. I think Ken is a damn alternate for Ryu. Terry Bogard's in there.
Yep. I mean, once Terry Bogard shows up, it was like nobody's off limits, right?
Yeah.
Like, anybody could show up.
Yep. Of course, Dead or Alive 5, I love those Virtua Fighter characters. They actually fit in that game pretty good. They were actually the best characters in there. Because you had that, then you had May, and that was. I think the cross promotion helps things like that, and so I'm hoping maybe they'll do something at least as far as like costumes at the very least.
Yeah.
I've got to basically take the attitude as far as DLC. It's like, even if Street Fighter 6 is fucking amazing, they're going to rape your ass over the fires with DLC and costumes and shit.
And then nonstop.
And then that if you hold out for long enough, they're going to release all them shit. So it's like, if I got to have one Chun-Li bikini or whatever it is, I'll try to get it. Just try not to buy too many of them shits. It's like,
you have to promote it so that way
yeah.
they'll make more of it.
Well, I'm not going to pre-order this sucker. Whatever bonus, I'm just not going to give a fuck. I want to see some straight up fucking gameplay. Is what I want to see. And I want to hear online. I want to hear online being solid. Because fucking online at 5 sucked. For being a big game, it sucked.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of anything other Street Fighter that we missed, because we hit a lot of shit.
Street Fighter the movie.
I've never played that. I
played it on emulator just for shits and giggles. And it's fucking terrible, but it's interesting that it's Street Fighter and it just feels like Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's about all you can say about it.
Did they have another team do that? I think another team.
I forgot who did it. Some other team did it. I mean, it literally, it looks like fucking damn Mortal Kombat, but it's like Street Fighter, and the moves come out. I mean, it's not the most atrocious thing.
Yeah.
But it's different. It feels weird. It's funny. It's got Akuma in it, even though he wasn't in the movie.
Well, because Akuma was in everything back then. It's like fucking.
Yeah, man. He had to.
Yeah, it's like. I mean, how are you supposed to be an edgelord? About, I mean, at the time we were unironically edgelords, all right?
Yeah,
man. It's like, well, why not be Akuma? He's the beast fucking whoops Ken and Ryu's ass.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that. You just throw him in there like the freaking Mortal Kombat ninjas.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about any other ones before we end this, but
I can't think of anything offhand. I'm sure I'll think of it about 5 minutes after we stop and be like, oh, yeah.
Well, there was tons of, there's the other side games, like they're in Marvel vs. Capcom, they're in fucking SNK versus Capcom. Most of those, the SNK versus Capcom is pretty much Street Fighter, but the
yeah,
Marvel's clearly, Marvel
it
first.
Was different.
It's Marvel, baby, is the damn phrase, so... It's like, you mean you have super unlimited? Every character has unlimited bullshit? Yeah, it's Marvel, baby.
Why would it? Freaking Cyber Akuma's throwing out 47 fireballs at one time. It's like, it's awesome.
Yeah, man. I always liked Street Fighter because there would usually be some cheesy shit, but it felt like your basics did stuff. You feel like your regular moves were useful. When they feel like your regular moves were useless, they didn't have any point. That's when you really kind of felt like, this wasn't really Street Fighter.
Yeah,
that was always my opinion of it. Now I'm hoping in Street Fighter 6, Guile gets some more shit. He's good in 5. His V trigger's good in 5. He's one of the better characters. It's a shame that they nerfed Charlie to oblivion, even though he plays different. I would have liked to use Charlie. One of the things I'm hoping now that you have like parries and a bunch of hard armor defense moves is that let's make the normals be good again, because 5 had tons of normals, but they were all felt stubby. They felt
like they were just pokes.
Yeah. Not even good pokes. They felt like they were stubby as fuck for, I guess, balance reasons. But you would go up and you would hit. It clearly looked like he hit, but it wouldn't count. And there was tons of called stubby normals. Like, these are short motherfuckers. They ain't got no length to their arms. But if you're gonna have a parry, if everybody has a parry, then fucking put some big moves out there. And they can have long wind-ups and stuff if you want to, but put some good moves out there. I'm hoping that's what's going to happen. That's one of those things you don't really know. Everything could be solid and right and awesome, but if it doesn't feel good, then that's just something.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it has to feel good. The animation's there right now, and it looks like the music and everything's going to be there, but it needs to be responsive and feel good. But I can't think of anything else.
No, I can't think of anything.
It's pretty late. Any idea for what we do for next podcast, sir? Like play by ear?
Yeah, might play by ear.
Yeah.
I think we've already talked about Resident Evil. I'm sure something will come up between now and then.
Have we done Castlevania yet? I can't even fucking remember. I think we have.
I think we have.
Isn't that sad that we fucking?
We can't remember. It ain't like we've done 900 episodes either. So yeah, it's sad we can't remember.
I think by number wise, this would be number 27 because we did 2 today.
Yeah. I know it's less than 30.
Yeah. Well, we're going to do Castlevania sooner or later.
Yeah.
If we haven't done it yet.
We could do Castlevania, and we could do really annoying games.
Games that piss the worst games ever.
Yeah, the ones that pissed us off the most.
Fucking
Defenders Diatron City.
Defenders Splunker. The Kasoge episode of shit.
Yep. You could do a Stranger Things episode if you get caught up.
I'm not caught up. I have not started yet. I kind of want to see 3 first again.
I went back and watched season 1, and then I flashed through episodes of season 2 and 3 to get caught back up.
I think 2 is the weakest one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see 3, and I know once I start watching 3, it's just I want to watch it all of it again. I'm hoping that. Well, I don't want to spoil. Does 4 have a decent stopping point? Because I know it's broken up into 2. I guess a cliffhanger.
Yes.
Okay.
There's only 2 episodes left after the end. What it is, they stopped at like I think 6 episodes, and then there's like 7 and 8 come out at the 1st of July.
Oh, so it isn't. So it isn't the thing that's in the fall.
No. It's in July is when the last 2 episodes come out, and the last episode is like 2 hours and 15 minutes long. It's like they're literally like mini movies.
Okay.
For real.
All right.
Because like season 4, like I think the shortest episode is still like hour 15, hour 20, something like that. So it really feels like you're watching like mini movies every episode almost. But yeah, it pretty much it's like I think they did is like 1 through 6, but the one it stops with is like a good stopping point, and then there's like the last 2 episodes come out like 1st of July.
Okay.
So it's one of those like you got like a few weeks to watch it, and then it'll be time for the other ones to come out. So definitely worth watching. No spoilers, just worth watching.
So it's 6, 2 hours a piece. That's gonna be 12 hours. So
I forget. They're. Let's see.
I heard that they were like near feature length. Each episode.
They are. I'm telling you, it's like I think the first episode is only like an hour and some change, but it's like hour 15, hour 20. So I mean, it's like it's up there.
Yeah.
Because the last 2 I think are going to be like super long.
Okay.
Let's see. It's got them right here on this website. Yeah, one of them's like 82 minutes. Okay, yeah. Basically, each episode is basically like an hour 17, hour 15, hour,
a movie.
Yeah, basically a damn movie. The last episode 7 was the one they end on, is an hour and 38 minutes. And then episode 8 and 9 come out July 1st, and the episode 8's an hour 25, and episode 9 is 2 hours 30 minutes.
Yeah, and I know that 5's the end, season 5.
Yeah, that's the last one, and supposedly they said they're not going to have as long of a drop between 4 and 5, which I imagine with the ages of the kids, and they got hung up by COVID and all that.
So
no, they're really not. I mean, they're getting on up there.
Yeah, they got to get it done so they can keep doing Ghostbusters or whatever.
Exactly. Well, that's like when I saw that kid in the new Ghostbusters movie. I was like, damn, he's starting to not look like a kid anymore.
Yeah. Well,
so, anywho, we can end that one there.
All right, here we go.